Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Y'all let me know y'all can hear me. Get the webcam going here. All right. I think we're good here. Some sound effects on with y'all. You are now tuned in to the network. The YouTube channel that takes complex networking topics and dumbs it down in more simple language. Got my man Anders Tech 79 in the building. Appreciate you for tuning in. You get a Don DeMarco. Y'all give me a second here. Y'all give me a second.
It's okay. No worries. No worries.
So today we're going to do a quick lab in VTP and DTP, VLAN trunking protocol and dynamic trunking protocol. What that is? Anyways, I got a cheat sheet for y'all right here, right? Kind of gives us a brief overview on what each of these topics are, right? So VTP is a way for us to kind of propagate our VLANs without having to manually configure them on several switches, right? So we could have like 30 switches, right? But configure all the VLANs on one switch, and then it'll propagate down to all the rest of them. We got my man Glenn in the building. What's up, Glenn? Appreciate you for tuning in. Shout out to him. He actually suggested this topic, so I hope you guys downloaded this lab. If not, just join the Discord server. I posted the lab in the Discord server there. So let me put that in the group chat also. Invite. If you're not joined to the Discord server, you'll kind of get a heads up on when we start streaming. That is the link. Actually, I'm gonna pin that too. Let me see. I'm gonna pin that right there. Pin. I'm gonna pin that to the top. That is the Discord server. Let me do this. Let me remove that, and I'm gonna put and unpin that, and I want to put it so when people know what the hell that link is. Join the Discord server here, and we're gonna start in just a couple minutes. This is a real simple lab, y'all. I kind of ran through it too. So, matter of fact, I might give y'all this cheat sheet too. Shout out to packetlife.net. Y'all know I get my cheat sheets from there, and that is where I got that cheat sheet from. Let me see if I can push that in there also. Let me put that in the Discord server. Where's the Discord server? Here. Everything that could go wrong today at work, it did. I can't even believe it, man. It seemed like it was a Monday, man. All right, so passport. Let me see. CCNA. Cheat sheet. Packetlife.net. VLANs. And there's the cheat sheet. That's also going to be in the Discord server as well, so y'all can see if y'all want to get a copy of that. Press enter. I hope that there it is right there. All right, so remember with VTP or VLAN trunking protocol, remember we said that is a way for us to propagate our VLANs on one switch. We create all the VLANs on one switch, and then we can just kind of like have them copy over to the other switches. That way we don't have to manually create all these VLANs, right? And there's different modes for these VLAN, VTP, for VTP, right? We create a domain, right? So kind of like almost like a website, right? They all have to be in the same domain for them to get all the VLANs from everybody else, right? This is common to all switches participating in VTP. You can either be in server mode, client mode, or transparent mode, which each one of them. Server mode is the main switch that has all the VLANs that are created there. That's the guy that can create VLANs, delete VLANs. He can do whatever with VLANs, right? A client mode can only receive and forward advertisements from servers. VLANs cannot be manually configured on switches in client mode. So you're switching client mode, you can't create VLANs if he's in a VTP domain or if he's in VTP client mode, right? So he can receive all of these VLANs and stuff like that, but he can't create them or anything like that. He can't delete them either, I don't believe. Transparent mode, it just does not participate in VTP at all. That is another way of kind of like turning off VTP. There's now, with some versions of iOS, you can actually have off mode for VTP. So you do VTP mode and then off. I don't know if you could do that on these switches. Let's see. These are 2960 switches, right? This is an older model. I don't think they got that mode in here though. Let's see. Go to global mode, go to global config mode. We say VTP mode. And there's the modes right there, right? Client mode, we set the device to client mode, server mode, and then transparent mode, right? There's also an off mode on the newer iOS versions, right? 2960 is the old switch, that's why you don't see that mode on there. And then there's VLAN pruning, where VLANs do not have any access ports on one end, and they're removed from the trunk to reduce flood of traffic. So we can have a trunk. Remember, a trunk is a port that carries all the VLANs, right? But if we want specific VLANs to be transported over these trunks, we're what's called pruning them, right? And that's what pruning is, right? Let's give it a couple more minutes for some people to tune in, and then we'll jump right into the lab, right? I think there's only, like 34 points or something like that? Not points, but like, yeah. So when you start off the lab, you'll see 2 out of 34. I think there's something that's already graded on there. There's nothing you can do to remove that. So we need to get to 34 points before we complete this lab. We should be able to knock this out in less than a half hour. So again, we'll give it a couple more minutes to tune in. We got my man Sean Mitchell in the building. He said, "What up, man? Just finished training 23 students in CCNA boot camp. 8 tested and all passed." That's what's up, man. Shout out to Sean, man. So you're like a certified trainer or something? Oh, that's what's up, man. We got Exalipour. It just passed my CCNA 2 weeks ago. Thanks, bro. Man, appreciate that, man. I hope my videos helped you out and stuff like that, man. So shout out to Exalipour. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, shout out to you for passing your CCNA exam. I need to. That's another reason why I started streaming again. I'm going to be taking. I need my CCNA actually expires at the end of December, and I have one more exam to take to actually be CCNP certified. So I said I need to start studying again and start getting these topics, refreshing in my head and stuff like that. And as Tech said, away from the house, but I will try the lab when I get home following the stream, though. That's what's up, man. You watching us on the phone or in the car or what? Glenn said, like how Fridays do us sometimes. Yeah, man. Today was just everything that could go wrong. It was just like Murphy's Law, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyway, let's go ahead and actually, before we get started, let's see what's going on. We got some current events here. I thought I pulled one up here. How big is the risk that someone will hack an EV charging network? You know what an EV is, right? Electronic vehicles, so like Teslas and Polestars and stuff like that. EV chargers are on the spectrum of Internet of Things, and that means risk. You know what the Internet of Things is, right? IoT, so things that just things, arbitrary, like items that we just don't think would be on the internet maybe 15 years ago, like, I don't know, a fan or a window can have an IP address, right? We call them smart devices now, right? Let me see here. Now give me a second here. So all of these devices can have an IP address, but that also means they're susceptible to being hacked, right? And Teslas and EV chargers, they're prone to that too, right? So y'all give me just a minute here. Give me just a minute here while that loads up. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, as passed by Congress last November, authorizes $7.5 billion to help meet U.S. President Joe Biden's goal of installing 500,000 stations by 2030. You know, I actually test drove the Model X, and man, that thing looked like a spaceship, felt like a spaceship. It rode so smooth. You know, gas prices was rising and stuff like that, and I just was like, I need to get a car, man. I need to get an electronic vehicle, and I was really considering a Tesla, but I was in the process of getting a crib and stuff like that, so I kind of held off on that. But as the number of stations increases, the number of vulnerabilities does as well, and that's the point I was trying to make here. So I remember going to my friend's house. He had a refrigerator, that actually tells you when you're low on, like, I don't know, milk or something like that. The refrigerator will actually tell you if you're low on eggs or whatever. You know, you can keep your shopping list on your refrigerator, right? Well, the refrigerator will not only keep this list, but it will also create a shopping list for you, and then you can sync it to your phone and all this other stuff. So basically, it's a smart refrigerator. Well, guess what? It needs an IP address, and it'll be prone to vulnerabilities. Same thing with charging stations. They're basically, you're going to be prone to vulnerabilities. Anything that can get on the internet and has an IP address is prone to vulnerabilities. Look at that. For the past several years, hackers have been aiming their attacks at electrical system vulnerabilities. Case in point. In the case of charging stations, some of these soft spots are located inside the stations. Some are located inside the equipment that controls connections between the grid and the station. And still, others are inside assets that sit on the grid side of the relationship, and these are mostly owned by utilities. Europe-based wind power companies, I'm not even pronounce that, Deutsche Windtrek, AG Energicon, have suffered attacks focused on stopping the flow of electrons, identity theft attacks, and stolen payments. In most cases, the results can be service disruptions affecting customers and revenue reductions for the providers of electrons and or asset owners. Hackers perpetually seek out ways to use any and all system vulnerabilities to their maximum advantage. This is a problem for the consumer just as it is for commercial enterprises. And then they go on and on and on and on about how you can protect your back end, et cetera, and all of these EV charging stations, prone to vulnerabilities, man. So, and case in point here, I got I know I just got a new crib, right? My pool, which I'm about to turn on right now for my girl. I can turn on the lights, I can turn on the jacuzzi and all this other stuff, all from my phone. But guess what? It is connected to the local area network, which is prone to vulnerabilities and hacking. So maybe I need to segment it and put it in different VLANs to kind of protect it, right? But that's the world we live in these days, right? So if this thing won't load up, I don't know what's going on here. Connect the local adapter. All right, so here we go. Put that in spawn mode. Yeah, give me a second here. Spa. There you go. I just turned on my spa and the lights through my phone. So let's go ahead and get started here. In this activity, you will configure VTP and DTP. We talked about what those are. Oh, well, I didn't talk about what DTP is, right? It is not Disturbing the Peace or a rap group by Ludacris, right? It is dynamic trunking protocol. It's a way for us to form trunks with another switch automatically, right? We may or may not want to do this because it helps. It makes it convenient for us as a network engineer and stuff like that, where we could just set it to DTP mode, desirable, where if it's connected to another switch, it'll just automatically form a trunk. But this is a vulnerability, right? If we connect to a switch that we really didn't want to make a trunk with, then it's susceptible to vulnerabilities and hacking and stuff like that. Maybe we don't want to form a trunk with a neighboring switch, right? But that's something we're going to set up here, and that's what dynamic trunking protocol. There's two different modes. There's desirable and auto mode. Desirable is when you really want it to, you're desiring to create a trunk. That's why they call it desirable mode. And then there's auto, which I believe is, let me not make pretend I know what the hell, I forgot what that meant. Let's see. Here's the different modes, right? It can be used to automatically establish trunks, just like explained, between capable ports, which is insecure. But there's desirable mode, there's auto mode, and I forgot what the third mode is. If anybody want to chime in the chat there, let me know what the third mode is. I forgot what it is. We got Definity in the building. He said, shout out to you. He said, man, I would love to have an iOS Docker container. I looked for one, but couldn't find one. I might just have to use Packet Tracer or NetSim. That's the simplest thing, man. Just download NetSim or Packet Tracer. I used to have EvenG and mess with all of that stuff like that, but I just haven't really messed with that in a while. It's just simple to just load up a lab real quick and then just kind of like lab this stuff up real quick. So IoT is a DDoS issue waiting to happen. Yes, it is. DTP is disabled by default. Yes, I believe it is disabled by default. Yes, from 1.2. So first step is to, let's kind of like, I'll skip the background and stuff like that. If y'all want to read that, download the lab and read that on your own. Connect the FA07 port on AS1 to FA07 on DS1, right? So we got our access layer here, and then we have our distribution layer here. That's why they call it AS1 and DS1. So we got FA07. Let's connect that port. Whoop. FA07 to FA07 over here. Whoop. Oh, I connected it to the wrong port. My bad. My bad. My bad. Let's delete that. Bloop. Bloop. Right? And then go back there. Connect from FA07 to FA07 here. Now we got 4 out of 34 points. So we're getting get a couple more points there. That's why I love about Packet Tracer. We can grade our assessments here, right? Next step is to configure DTP desirable on the FA07 port on DS1. So let's go to DS1. We're gonna make this a desirable trunk port, right? Let's see what mode it is right now, right? FA07 enable. So we can show interface, I believe, FA0/7 switch port. That lets us know what mode it's in, and right now it is in dynamic auto static. So it's right now considered it's an access port, right? I believe it's an access port. Let's see. Show interface status, and FA07 is it's not connected. It is connected. I believe it's an access port right now. Yeah, I believe it's an access port, but they want us to make us trunking. They want to make that trunk, so we're going to go to FA07 by going to config mode, interface FA0/7. We say switch port, and it even gives us the steps here, so we can't fuck this up, y'all. We can't fuck this up, man. Switch port mode, dynamic desirable. And if we put a question mark for the context sensitive help, we'll see a different mode there. Because nobody didn't want to answer that question. We have desirable mode and auto. I guess those were the only two modes. I thought there was a third mode. I don't know why I thought there was a third mode. Yeah, so desirable mode when we're desiring create a trunk, and auto. So they said desirable. That bounces the trunk port, brings it down and brings it back up, and also subtracted a point there. So I don't know what that's about. Anyway, connect the FA09 port on AS2 to FA09 on DS1. So we're going to connect this port from AS2 to DS1, FA09 to FA09, right? So we get a straight through cable, go from FA09 to FA09 right here. Bloop. That brings us to 5 points out of 34. See, we're almost done here, y'all. We should be able to get through this. And oh, that's probably why. Now this port is green, right? This is in amber, so it's going through the spanning tree states here, right? That's probably why. Configure DTP desirable on the FA09 port. So we're doing the same exact thing that we did here, except we're going to do it on that port, right? So we'll go to FA09 on that switch, exit out of that, go to interface FA0/9. Y'all got any questions or anything? Let me know if I'm losing y'all, or ask if anybody's lost, just ask away. There's no such thing as a dumb question on this channel here. We got a lot of smart people in the chat room over there that can help out if I can't, because it's hard to kind of focus here and try to teach, and then try to answer the group chat. And y'all don't understand the work that it take, man, to get a YouTube channel to start going, and then just to keep being consistent. It is difficult. Y'all don't understand, man, the work behind it. Y'all seen the technical difficulties I was going through yesterday to just get my to get the channel started again. The audio I was messing up, right? So we said switch port mode dynamic desirable for that. That bounces the trunk port. It went from up to down to back up. Let's see, is it an amber? It's amber. That brought us back down to 4 points. So maybe when it wakes up, we'll get some more points back. We'll get our points back for that. So yeah, Kevin Tran in the building. Appreciate you for tuning in. More Cisco. Yeah, we're doing just a simple VTP lab. We're just gonna crawl before we walk again, man. The show interfaces trunk command on the switches to verify that trunking has been enabled on the switch. Show interfaces trunk. So we go to DSW1 and notice now all the ports are green, right? So we're forwarding traffic now. We still have only 4 points there. So we'll go to DSW1 and we'll run that command, that show command. They want to show interfaces trunk, and it's kind of going to dissect that command. I like that command there too. I do that in a lot of work to verify what I'm working with here, right? So we got FA09 or 07 and 09 are two trunk ports, right? So 07 on that side, 09 on this side, and let's zoom in so y'all can see this, right? Boop. Right, and then do we have any labels? Let's see my labels here. Yeah, I wanted to see the labels for these ports. So port labels. Bloop. Nah, that's too close. I'll just leave that as is. Anyway, so we had FA07 and 9. We also see here that they are both in desirable mode. So that's what the DTP mode is. We also see that it's 802.1q, which is a trunking standard, right? Encapsulation there. That N means it was set up using negotiation. Now, if we hard coded it as a trunk with the command switch port mode trunk, we'll see this N go away. We'll just see it say 802.1q, right? So that's what that N means. I believe it means it negotiated to become a trunk. And then it is trunking, and the native VLAN is 1. Out the box, that is the native VLAN, right? And same thing with FA09 port. We're allowing all of our trunk, all of the VLANs to be going across the trunk. Remember what we said what pruning is, right? On the sheet there. If we were pruning any VLANs, we'll see like which VLANs we're actually bringing across, and we're going to see that in a second here. But right now, all the VLANs are going across this trunk, 1 through 1005, right? VLANs, pruning is VLANs not having any access ports on an end switch are removed from the trunk to reduce traffic. So we can have only specific VLANs that go across the trunk. That practice is called pruning, right? VLANs allowed, VLANs in spanning tree and forwarding. And I think that's all we needed to kind of see with that command there. That's all they wanted us to see here. What's the next step they wanted us to do here? Configuring VTP. So what we came to do here, the meat and potatoes. VLAN trunking protocols used to communicate VLAN information among VTP domain participating switches, right? So we create all the VLANs, do all the work on one switch, and then we can propagate that across 100 switches rather than having to create all those VLANs on every individual switch. That's what VTP allows us to do, right? Nowadays, this practice is not really used very often. Most people just do them manually or just do VTP transparent. The last 3 organizations I worked for, they put it in transparent mode because you could potentially wipe VLANs with it if you're not very careful, right? Create a new VTP domain, configure switch DS1 as a VTP server by assigning CCNA lab as the domain name with a password Cisco12345, right? Remember what we said the different modes are, right? We said domain mode, server mode. I mean, we could create a domain, which is kind of like a website, whatever, and then the server mode, client mode, transparent mode, right? We're going to create this switch to be server, and these two guys are going to be client, right? So let's make this guy a server. Go to global config mode. We say VTP mode server. That puts him in server mode. As you can see, you can get a message that says setting device to VTP server mode. We're at 6 points so far out of 34. And then they said they wanted us to put the domain as all caps CCNA-lab. And yes, it is case sensitive, right? So we say VTP, the way we do that is VTP domain, and then the name actual domain, which is CCNA-lab. Press enter. It went from null to CCNA lab. It was blank basically, and we changed it to CCNA lab. Now we got 12 out of 34 points, so we almost halfway there, y'all. And then they want us to create a password of Cisco12345. So much for a secure password, right? VTP password Cisco12345, all lowercase. Press enter. We set the database password of 12345. We got 14 out of 34 points. You to show VTP status to verify the domain was created. So we do that command, and that gives us a wealth of information too. That's what I like about that command too. What am I doing here? Show VTP status, and then we'll see what version we're using. A quiz. How many versions of VTP are there? I don't believe it's on the cheat sheet, but if you do know, put it in the group chat and then and answer that. That's pop quiz for the day. Man, listen. Yeah. He said three. I think you're right. How many versions? The question was, how many versions of VTP is there? Ben said three. Shout out to Glenn for that one. I believe it is three versions of VTP. Let's check our cheat sheet. I don't know if it's on here. Let's see. Uh, there's so if we do look here, so this is how we configure the versions, right? We do VTP and the keyword version, and we press question mark for context system help. That'll actually give us the answer, right? So we go to global config mode. We say VTP version question mark. There's actually, I believe, only two versions. Is there a version three? This Kelvin, can you answer that question? Because I know Kelvin's a really smart one. I thought there was three too, actually. Let's see. Let's Google that real quick. I'm gonna fact check that because we question mark. You see, we can only configure two versions on here. They didn't ask us to change the version, but let's see. I'll have to Google it because it's not on my cheat sheet here. So VTP versions 2 and 3. Yeah, there is actually three. You know what it is? This, if y'all see, is a old Catalyst 2960. This switch is probably like I want to say about a 15-year-old model. Back then, they only had like two versions of VTP. So I believe Glenn is correct with that one. There's actually three versions of VTP. Version 1, version 2. Version 1 and version 2 can only broadcast only VLANs 1 through 1005. And that's the reason why. Yeah, so there's actually three versions. VTP version 3 is similar version VTP 2, but it has some extras like syncing private VLANs, MST, or I think that's multiple spanning tree, and also supports RSPAN and RSPAN VLANs and more. So yes, there's three versions. So shout out to Glenn for that one. He said, "Wow, 3750. I was fighting the other day." Oh, that's how you know. Okay, yeah. So yeah, there's actually three versions. It just so happened that the switches they use for this packet tracer lab is a 2960, and that's an old ass model. So anyway, shout out to Glenn for that one. So they want us to configure five VLANs on DS1, which is this guy right over here. Use VLANs 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So let's do that, right? That's easy enough to create a VLAN, right? Y'all know how to do that? Not just follow along. Basically, that's an easy one. We just go to global config mode. We say VLAN and then type in the number. So in this case, they say VLAN 10, VLAN space 20, right? That creates and notice when you create these VLANs, the last VLAN that last one won't be created until you exit out of VLAN configuration mode. So notice I put VLAN 10 and 20 there, right? But if I do a show VLAN, let's see, is it there? Yes, it is there. What I meant to show was, I believe, yeah, because we're already in that mode, so I won't be able to demonstrate that. Anyway, let's do VLAN 30. That's going to create that one. VLAN 40, VLAN 50, right? We do that, and then we'll do show VLAN brief, and we'll see all the VLANs we created right over here, right? 10 through 50, right? And then the next thing they said to do was configure the access layer switches, AS1 and 2, the domain as VTP clients. So remember, we said we're going to create this guy as a server, these two guys as clients, and that's what we're going to do here. So let's go to this guy, and you'll see what I meant by creating VLANs on one switch and have them propagate down to the other ones, right? If we do, before we do that, let's see which one this access layer switches have, right? So VLAN brief, and we have only just the default VLANs, 1 through 1, 1002, 3, 4, and 5, right? We don't have the other custom VLANs that we created just yet. We're going to create this guy as a client, VTP mode client, right? That sets into the client mode. We verify that with show VTP status. We got 26 out of 34 points here. So we're almost done. We're almost done, y'all, right? We made him a client. He is participating in a domain CCNA lab. It says here, we only have 5 existing VLANs on here, right? Does he have the new ones yet? So VLAN brief. We don't have the new VLANs just yet, right? Right? We just have the default VLANs in here. But if we put that password that we created last time, go to global config mode, Actually, before we do that, let's set this other guy as a client first before I demonstrate that, right? Delay this one, go to enable mode, global config mode, VTP. Y'all give me a second here. I'm gonna control the pool. Y'all, I love this, man. I love my little pool. So I have this little app that has a pool interface. I'm able to turn the lights on, turn the adjust the chlorinator, or at least view the levels for it. Y'all know I'm a little like a little internet nerd and stuff like that. So she in the pool right now, so I'm like I can adjust it and stuff like that, right? And this is what I mean by the Internet of Things, man. Like somebody you'd actually go onto the network and kind of like hack your pool. See, just like anything that has an IP address is susceptible to vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So and that's what I was talking about there. He said, yep. DTP 3 goes up in higher standards for VLANs. Can't quite think of the numbers at the moment. 4,000 something. I believe you can create 4,095 VLANs. I think that's what you were trying to answer there. Let me see. Did I even turn the blower on? Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Let's put him in client mode, VTP mode client. That puts him in client mode. We got 28 out of 34 points, so we're almost done. We're almost done. If we check, we'll see the power. The VLANs are not on there just yet, right? We can show VLAN brief. If I can spell correctly. So VLAN brief. We don't have none of the VLANs propagated so far. What if we put the password in? Go to global config mode, say VTP password Cisco 12345. Press enter. That sets the database password. And now if we do a show VLAN brief, bloop, we have 30 out of 34 points. So it looks good so far, right? If I can spell correctly. And there they go right there. See those paths? See now imagine we had 100 switches, right? All we got to do is just create the VLANs on one switch, and it'll propagate down to all the 100 other switches, as long as they are just in the VTP domain. The only thing is you actually got to manually set the switch to be in part of that domain, right? But then if you can, create a script or something like that and have it go across the to the other switches, then it'll be able to pick up the other VLANs automatically like that, right? So we got to do the same thing on this guy, right? He doesn't have the new VLANs just yet, right? Verify that with show VLAN brief, right? He only has the default VLANs, but if we put that password in, VTP password Cisco 12345, because we couldn't think of a better password than that, do a show VLAN brief, and we'll see there goes those custom VLANs, right? We got 32 out of 34 complete. I don't know if this lab, something wrong with this lab, because I don't know what those last 2 points they ask us to do here. And then it says here, verify AS1 and AS2 has learned VLANs added to the domain from switch 1, which we just did. Check results, and we'll see this activity is incomplete. We try again. What are we missing here? It says here, the port mode, chunking. It says those 2 ports, link to AS2 and AS1, are not in the correct mode. So, in my opinion, they are trunking and they are in the correct mode. So it says right here, see, 0 out of 2. Let me move that up so y'all can see, right? We didn't get all of our trunking assessments correct. So I don't know what it's missing there. If we go to that distribution switch, where's he at? He's over. Let me put this up so y'all can see. Close. There's the distribution switch. If we do, which we did already, we did show interface trunking, and we see now, since we have specific VLANs we created, these are the ones that are allowed and active in domain. These are spanning tree forward and not pruned. So we're still allowing all of them across the trunk. These are trunking. So not too sure what they wanted here. we do have 2 ports that are trunking. I don't know what the hell this lab is talking about. I think I've already tried hard coding it as a trunk, and that still didn't give me the last 2 points there. So I don't know. If anybody want to mess with the lab, join the Discord server and download it, and then let me know how to get those last 2 points. But we pretty much did most of the lab. I don't know what they're asking for there. So they wanted it to be in dynamic desirable mode. That's the difference between the two that I meant to say. Is the dynamic desirable mode attempts to negotiate a trunk with the far end. When you put it in auto mode, it only forms a trunk if it's requested by the far end. If we put it in access mode, it'll never form a trunk. So let's further look into those 2 ports, which is FA07 and 09. Show run. Well, we can't even do specific ones. So see right there, mode dynamic desirable, dynamic desirable. Yeah, I'm not too sure what those last points are. We got Pete in the building. Appreciate you for tuning in. So glad to see you. Hey, chat. Yep. Yeah, we just wrapped up this lab here. We just covered some VTP, VLAN trunking protocol, and dynamic trunking protocol. We talked about the different modes. We just learned from my man Glenn over there that there's 3 versions of VTP, right? It just so happened that this is an older model, 2960 switch, which only supports version 1 and 2, right? Because if we do a question mark, you'll see that. But there's actually 3 modes or 3 versions of VTP, right? So we do VTP version. It says here you can only set versions 1 and 2, but there's actually 3 versions of VTP. It just so happened that this is an older model, right? So tomorrow we will do I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about doing flexible NetFlow tomorrow. I got another lab that I wanted to cover. We did NetFlow yesterday, but tomorrow I want to do flexible NetFlow. So talk about the difference between the two. And what else did I wanted to do here? I borrowed some Nexus switches from an old coworker of mine. Might want to do some stuff with virtual port channels and stuff like that. So we'll stream tomorrow again around the same time, sometime between 6 and 9. Just join the Discord server. And the link is there at the top of the chat, and I'll let y'all know when I will do when we'll stream, but it'll be sometime between 6 and 9. For now, comment, like, subscribe to the network.